What's that say? It does say we're live. 15 seconds.
On my screen, I don't know about yours, but on my screen it says we're live.
It does say we're live.
I don't know about yours, but mine, that's how mine's rolling right about now. Mine says we're live. So you know what the first thing we do is, as soon as we go live, we fumble around.
Share. We got to share. Well, we got to give people time to join up.
We do.
Gotta give them time to join up.
Yeah, we do. And if you checking this bad boy out, feel free to go ahead and hit like and share and all that good stuff while we do our thing.
I gotta get that link up. I forgot the link.
Oh man.
Being silly.
Let me see. I'm waiting for it on my. Oh yeah, dog. I think so. Let me see here. Boom.
Copy all that.
Debbie says, "Hello, strangers."
Well, hello, Debbie.
Well, hello, Debbie. Hey, girl. Hey. Go over to the comments. Hey, girl. Hey. Debbie Waynes in the house. Coach Debbie herself. Hey, Debbie. Debbie, put your Facebook page in the comments there.
Yeah. Let the folks know where they can find you.
Let them know. Oh, I see you all the time. You be doing your thing, packing your lunches and all that kind of good stuff she be doing. And, she just looks like she went on vacation and she be doing everything, man.
Mm-hmm, everything.
Selling, she marketing, PR marketing, cars and everything. Debbie Wayne's coaching. See, there she go. You better go, girl. You better go, girl.
That's all I know. Speaking of going, we're 2 minutes in, I think.
Hey, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity, baby.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And tonight, you know what? This was Kirk's idea. I'm gonna let him, throw this one out there.
Oh man, what, you gonna throw me under the bus?
Yes. you know how to get away from a bear, right? You just gotta run faster than your buddy.
Run faster than the other guy. I'm good with that, man. Hey, I had a question. First of all, I'm, got my little new office set up in here, man.
Look at that, looking good.
They got a new background set up, so that your eyes are not deceiving you. You know what I'm saying? A brother's does have a new background. But in the meantime, man, I've been thinking about this thing kind of lately, man. And this is something that, oh, by the way, if you're watching this, if you go to the Mad Men page, which, surely Debbie is on, because, she's commenting and we can see. So if you go to the Mad Men of Masculinity page on Facebook here, if you're watching this live, you can type in, comments and we can see them live here. We'll give you a shout out and we'll get your feedback. And today might be a good day to get some feedback in. If you're watching this later on, maybe on YouTube or some other platform, hit like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. But this is, this is something that's kind of been on my mind, man. It's a little bit of a challenging kind of thing, but I notice us as guys, us as men, I kind of feel like we, in some ways, I feel like we've lost some of our mojo.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we as men, regardless of the state of women these days, regardless of the state of relationships, regardless of all the external forces, I think we as men need to get our power back.
Yes.
That's the best way I can describe it. And I think we as men, I think the world needs us to get our power back. I think women need us to get our power back. I think the state of relationships need to get. I think our workplaces, I think our businesses, I think our communities, our churches, our softball teams, our whatever it is that you're a part of. I think men, but particularly in the area of relationship and just in who we are in our masculine being, I think we need to get our power back. Now, I think it's clear. Now, I want to right up front, I want to distinguish the fact that in my mind, power is not dominance. So I'm not talking about, grabbing something and taking, by force. And I'm not talking about, coming in and banging your chest and all that kind of stuff, because to me, that's false bravado, false masculinity. I'm talking about all of the good things that we have natural inclinations for: truth, justice, the American way, freedom, leadership, and just protection and safety, and just, provision, all those kinds of things. I think in some ways, we've lost that. And again, I think it's very easy to, when you look at relationships, or when you look at, the state of men versus women these days, it's real easy for us guys to say, man, we got all these feminist women and this and that, we can blame this, we can blame that, we can blame, the sissification of our culture, we can blame all that kind of stuff. But I think we got to start at home. I mean, I personally think it starts with us, and we got to get our poop in a group. And I think once we get our poop in a group, then I think a whole lot of things are destined to straighten out from there. But yeah, that's kind of what's been on my mind. Just the whole idea of us as men getting our power back.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I was excited about this topic just because of how, in my own experience, doing the whole nice guy thing, not being in my power, not standing on my own 2 feet, having my own backbone, how that has affected my life, relationships, jobs, everything. And yes, it does get to that point of getting your power back as a man, which is not an external thing, although some external support is helpful for you to go to build up your own masculinity. But it's really that internal, who am I, what do I want? And I think that's really where the gist of the issue is. I mean, we've talked about nice guy syndrome, I don't know how many times, but that being men not being a part of their sons' lives, being raised by their single mothers, and the mothers doing the best job they can of raising boys. And so we are raised to look to the feminine for our validation, the school system being 95% feminine. So we're just trained that way. And there's even been that push to kind of take the masculinity, it's not thought of that way, but it's the aggressiveness, the aggressiveness of boys as taking that away, because that's not socially acceptable nowadays. Although part of that is their natural masculinity, that competitiveness, that drive to be better and to strive to find out who they are. And that's how they find out who they are, by competing and what their strengths are and things. And for a lot of us, I know in my experience, it has turned into an internal thing. I've had to stop looking outside of myself and start looking internally and go, who am I? What do I want? And to stop asking others, well, what do you think? What should I do? Should I do this? What do all those things that are obviously not coming from a place of power. They're coming from a place of lack of power, a place of weakness, or a place of unhealthy self-image, really. I mean, that lack of self-confidence, going, well, I'm not sure what I should do. I'm not sure how I should be a man. Honey, how should I be a man? Well, as we know, that doesn't really work, because she doesn't want to tell us how to be a man. She's trying to be a woman.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm getting to, is us looking outside of ourselves for ourselves, us looking to the world, us looking to the feminine, us looking to a woman, or just women in general, but just us looking outside of who we are and outside of what we are, finding shelter, finding identity in something other than what's inside of here. And I've spent most of my life, for sure, seeking validation from women. And how's that working out for you, kind of thing? Like, that is a losing proposition. First of all, in my opinion, I don't think a woman can truly love you to the maximum, if she's validating you at the same time. Because I think, there's some level of disrespect, some level of lack of respect or anti-respect that goes along with the fact that you're looking for validation in a woman or in femininity. And at the same time, I think, if there's not some level of admiration that she has for you, I would imagine it'd be very hard for a woman to admire a man that she's also validating. Right. But with some level of admiration, then there comes, I think closely behind that is a level of respect, and a level of just like, wow, okay, I can find maybe some leadership or headship or authority or some mutual submission or something like that in something that she admires, but not something that she validates. But so often we look for validation in work. We look for validation in, some kind of sport or activity, all the stuff that's on the outside, or our car, our bling, or whatever it is. But we don't look for validation, within, and we chase it. And quite often we end up chasing it, I think, somewhere in the area of femininity.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, you just look at what is going on nowadays and how a lot of ladies, even in relationships, are with men that they may not respect, or they may not, that, those men may not turn them on the way, and it's a lot of times because of that simple fact that those men are looking for validation, or have been
Mm-hmm.
trained to look to the feminine for their validation, or for
Mm-hmm.
their, am I good enough thing. And the ones that really get the ladies going are the men who don't care. They know who they are. They're
Right.
doing their own thing,
Right.
and they're not looking to the feminine for validation. Now, I
Right.
know it's been taught to a lot of us that that's what we ought to do, because that's what was thought of as, oh, well, this is how we make nicer men or nicer
Right.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
But that negates the polarity that is necessary for sexual attraction. It negates the
Mm-hmm.
polarity that's necessary for healthy co-coupling, or relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it really comes down to, and it's what I find the most kind of disturbing, is that it's not talked about men's power or men's strength, or
Mm-hmm.
their own natural framing, until it's missing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't hear about, healthy fathers until it's like, well, some kid does something, or there's some shooter or something like that. Well, where was his kid's father at? Or
Mm-hmm.
where's his father, or where's this healthy masculine influence?
Mm-hmm.
It's always after the fact, when something bad comes down, but it's not during the, well, does he have a strong masculine influence? If not,
Mm-hmm.
where can he find one? And
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of times, even with men, we don't talk in the same way, even though a lot of us have been trained to speak a lot more, talk about our emotions more in these things, because that was the training we got, usually from our single mothers, or from our families, or from schools or whatnot. That, oh, well, you need to be more loquacious, you need to talk more, speak about your feelings. But for
Mm-hmm.
men, it's not about the speaking, it's about the doing, it's about the
Mm-hmm.
experience. That's why having that father figure that you do things with, or other men in your life that you are doing things with. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we as men, when we're in our power, when we're in our self-confidence, and that self-awareness of, this is who I am,
Mm-hmm.
we don't necessarily need to talk about all those things.
Yeah.
Those things just are things we accept, or things that we may talk about with our guy friends, whatnot. But
Yeah.
it's during that doing in those competitions that you find that sounding board.
Yeah.
You find that sounding board with other men, so that you can find out, and accept who I am. And I think that's sometimes the hardest thing when we grow up in a nice guy society, to find, well, what is true for me, instead of looking outside, well, this is not what dad said, or mom said, or the school said, or my business says, or
Mm-hmm.
the job I work for, or, the boss says.
Mm-hmm.
What do I want? Who am I? Who am I truly within myself? And then to stand within that, and to
Yeah.
create that frame of healthy, strong masculinity of, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I don't care what y'all think.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, I think, on one hand, well, I'm firmly of the opinion that femininity cannot validate masculinity. I mean, femininity cannot make masculinity, right? And so, quite often when you hear about, the whole reason why the idea of men taking back power, or men having power, is such a cringe-worthy kind of statement, is because, quite honestly, masculine power has been abused, and frequently, and for a very long time, and I think it's gotten. I think over a course of history, it got off track, more and more off track, and hurt people, and so us as men, we have the ability to hurt greatly, because we do have an innate power, earthly power, that's very tangible, whereas I think women kind of have a intrinsic, almost like an intuitive, spiritual power, for sure. Men's power is very tangible, and and I think over time we as a population of men have abused that, and, you know, and so people don't really want to hear about guys kind of stepping forward and, you know, really taking charge of something. And what the other thing that happens is, you know, people culture, society tends to want to curb or define what that masculine power should be. Like, you know, no, I want you to just do this. I want you to do that. I want you to sit over in the corner. And when I see a bug, I want you to go kill it. But in the meantime, I want you to be nice and passive. And I want you to be friendly. I want you to be cheerful. I want you to be submissive, passive, all those kinds of things. But that's not innately kind of who we are as beings, generically speaking. So, you know, but I think when we do, so here's my thing. You can split an atom and destroy a city. You can also split an atom and power a city. And so when we take the ability that's within us, when we split that atom and divert it into something that can power something as opposed to something that can destroy something, you know, an aircraft carrier can go 20, 30, 40, 50 years without being refueled because of splitting an atom in the nuclear reactor. Same thing with a submarine. But and so when we harness our power and when we do good with it, you know, I think that's where I think the world is a safer place. You know, I think the world is a more cohesive place. I think, you know, there's less war as opposed to more war. I think there's less crime as opposed to more crime. All those kinds of things. And so, you know, I mean, that's what I mean by us getting our power back. I think back from destruction to creation.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, because I do believe that men's power or masculine power has been vilified or has been misunderstood or has been taught to us that it's a negative thing. Mm-hmm. But when we look back on traditional masculine power, that power is that strength. It's the lion. It's the leadership, and it's usually quiet leadership. It's the one that holds the frame. It's not the, you know, like you said, hurt people. The unhealthy masculine is the one that's acting out, being arrogant, doing all these things that are unhealthy and abusing their power, versus those that know who they are, have a greater purpose to themselves. And I think now is a good time to talk about the three needs of masculinity. I mean, a sense of purpose is probably number one. You need to know who you are and what your purpose is. A sense of respect, and that's respect for yourself, a respect from your mate, from your family, from your friends, and a sense of control. And a lot of times that sense of control is what kind of goes haywire, because people think control in a negative sense. But really, control is that I know what I'm doing and I know where I'm going, and here's my frame, here's my house, and I control that space. This is my castle. I control that space, and this is the plan. There's a plan that we're working towards. We have a goal. We're going that direction, versus a lot of the negative connotations around masculine power. Yeah, I mean, I know we talked about the Red Pill documentary, which was actually filmed by a feminist who wanted to prove that men's rights activists or the men's power movement were misogynists. And what she found was that that's not the case. It's men wanting to have their own power, their own say in a world that has misunderstood masculine power, and has tried to waylay that and subjugate it to, well, the feminine is very powerful. They may not be the physically powerful, but they are emotionally and mentally powerful. And so we've kind of societally, or as a people, moved in that direction. Like, well, the men had their power and they abuse it. Now it's time for the feminine to have their power, which is fine. But now men are starting to realize that we are an integral part of that power structure, of that system. And a lot of us have gotten to the point now where we're kind of like, I'll be over here if you need me. Like, I'm doing me, you do you, I'll be over here if you need me. And I think that's one of the things that has to come back to men being more of that solo, not isolated, but the internal power. You know, when you have your backbone, you have your purpose, when you respect yourself and you know where you're going, you know what your frame is, then you know where your power is, where your power lies. And it's just, the strong lift people up. They don't take them down.
Yeah. I don't think the solution is okay, if men haven't done a good job, now women should, let women get a chance. I don't think that's the solution. I think the solution is we get our poop in a group and we begin to do, what it is that we're called to do. And sometimes it's unpopular. A lot of times it's unpopular. Matter of fact, I think sometimes the most the most masculine thing you could do is do what you believe is right in your heart, even when other people around you disagree. But sticking to your beliefs, sticking to your morals, your values, sticking to your your that gut thing that's inside of you as a man. But I don't think the solution is, okay, well, let's get women to now. I'm not against, I'm not limiting who can do what and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just talking about the whole idea of us abdicating our position for the sake of maybe we haven't done a great job. Because I tell you what, I don't believe that women will do a great job with being men. I mean, women can do a whole lot of things, but they can't be good men. Right. And I personally don't find it very attractive in any kind of way. I'm not talking about sexually. I'm talking about relationally. I'm just talking about like some things just give me a cringe when I see or hear or whatever the whole notion of the alpha woman. Like, to me, that's, I don't know. To me, that phrase is almost like an oxymoron, because to me, when I hear about something, like an alpha this or alpha that, I think masculine. I mean, I think domineering. I think authoritative leadership. I mean, all those things that, I think all those things, I mean, that's what comes to my mind. And to me, I don't think that's the strength of femininity. Now, if a woman wants to, be alpha and admittedly say, okay, I'm abandoning femininity and I'm pursuing masculinity, okay, cool. But I don't think you get both. I don't think you get femininity and alpha. Like, I just don't think those two go together. And to me, like I said, when I see it, whether it be personally, in my society or culture, or even when I see it on TV or when I hear somebody, like, to me, I don't think a woman should be bragging about being an alpha woman. Now, if you got to be if you got to do what you got to do, and maybe if you're if you're running a company, or if you're running a household, or if you're raising kids, or if you're doing whatever, then, you can still do that and be feminine. Like, you don't have to take on masculinity in order to do things that are historically or inherently, masculine kind of roles. So I just don't like the whole idea of I'm a alpha woman. Really? But that same person would cringe if a guy bragged about being a beta man. It's like an oxymoron, right? So yeah, I don't know. I pull back on that when I hear that whole idea of us getting out of the way so that women can step into the role and women can somehow become better men than men. That's a waste of time. That's diminishing returns, in my opinion.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, because the biggest issue we have now is the separation of, there's always been we got to separate by color lines or national lines, whatever, and whether it's a control thing or it's just governments doing their nationality thing or whatnot. But now it's come down to, now we're separating the sexes. Now we're separating this and trying to say, well, men can be this and women can be this, which is fine. You have the choice of being whatever you want to be. But what we're missing is that we're a couple. We're in this together. We're like the yin yang. The masculine and feminine need to come together, and it's in that wholeness and in that coming together where family and strength and community and unity is created. But now what's going on, a lot of men are who are very logical and pragmatic are just getting to the point of going, well, what's in it for me? Like, I've done all these things. I'm jumping through all these hoops. I'm doing all these things to try to make this person happy, whether it's, female or whatever, this other person in my life. I want them to be happy. I'm gonna do all these things, and now that's become a bad thing. Now you become a beta male, you become a simp, or you become, this lesser person because you've lost your intrinsic self-worth and self-awareness. And some guys are just kind of going, you know what? Well, that's not working. I'm logical and pragmatic as a man, so I'm just gonna go do my own thing, which in a lot of ways will get you back to your own self-power. Because once you stop looking outside, like, well, I'm doing all this, and I'm speaking from my own experience too, because I did that for most of my life. I went chasing this woman, that woman. Let me fix you. Let me heal you. Let me do this for you. And it never gave me the results I was looking for. But every time I quit doing that and stopped chasing, then I started to receive the results, which is kind of the oxymoron of receiving, or how to get the world to work in your favors. Stop chasing what you want. Be who you are and allow it to come to you. And a lot of that is what we have been trained into as nice guys or beta men or the new masculine or whatever you want to say. But it really comes back to self-awareness. Who am I as a man? What do I believe in? And I think that's why we need other men. You know, you've said so many times, iron sharpens iron. If you're not around other men and you don't learn to stand your ground with other men, then how can you stand your ground with your woman or with your family or with anybody else? How do you know what you value?
Right.
If you're constantly looking outside yourself going, well, tell me, honey, what do I value? What do you want? What do you want for dinner? What are we doing today? What are we doing this weekend? And we've talked about it. I don't know how many ladies we know who are sick and tired of feeling like they got to plan or have all the answers. They want a real man who can say, hey, we're going to go do this. I made these plans. We're going to go do that.
Oh, yeah.
But that comes from self-awareness and self-confidence, which
absolutely. That comes from the place of, yeah, I am at least somewhat secure. Matter of fact, it comes from a place of like, I don't even have to be right all the time, or I'm okay with failing sometimes. I mean, single women, probably from what I understand anyway, from my conversations and discussions, have some level of frustration with guys that are afraid to approach, or guys that are afraid to, to make the first move, or guys that are afraid to ask for a number or whatever. And, I mean, I think.
Well, that's a multi-layered issue too. I mean, we even had Cleo Stiller on about with her book, The Modern Manhood, and it's a multi-layered issue now. Not only are we not men, we're nice guys, we're simps, we're chasing after feminine, but now there's all these other things, the Me Too movement and the feminism movement and things. So now we don't know what we can do, and if we talk to the wrong person, she doesn't find us attractive, we could be in trouble.
Right.
We could be losing our jobs or getting, So there's definitely this multi-layered issue of men. Like, I want to be a man. I want to, take initiative, but are you okay with that?
But how we approach it. See, I think if we're secure in even who we are, how we make that approach is non-threatening. Non-threatening to I mean, if you make an approach like a creeper, straight, ready to be a hashtag guy, then you're probably gonna, guys creep out other guys. I mean, and if you're making an approach to a woman and and you're coming at it with an ulterior motive or a set outcome that you need, or you're just creepy, then you're going to be Me Too guy. If you're harassment, if you're all that kind of stuff. But I think, if you're kind of secure in who you are and you're okay just kind of walking up and having a conversation or initiating a conversation, and if she gives you attitude, then peace out, then you give the Top Gun salute, I'm firing off the deck, I'm out of here. And I think, that should be okay. For whatever, that should be like an okay outcome. It's an okay outcome for this approach to not go well, but I'm not going to come in with a predetermined, I need this to come out this way. Like, I need to get that phone number. I need to have sex with her. I need to whatever. No, I mean, maybe it doesn't, maybe she's just not the one, or maybe I'm not the one for her or whatever. So, I think even when we make those approaches, but at the same time, the ability to be secure enough to be assertive, the ability to be secure enough to not be liked all the time, man. I mean, trying to be liked is like the death of us, man.
I spent so many years of my life. I had one of my best friends tell me, she's like, you just want to be liked by everybody.
Yeah.
And it's taken me so long to get to the point where, because it becomes so ingrained that you just don't realize you're even doing it.
Right.
And it takes that point where you get to that point of, okay, I'm comfortable with myself. And I had to, I mean, we had this discussion earlier. I had to get to the point of actually asking myself the question, like, am I going to be okay if I never meet the one or find a family? And then I'm like, well, I've been single this long. I'm still alive. I take care of myself. So and I think that's where a lot of that comes from. Like you're talking about the creepiness. If you were that needy and I need to get you because I don't feel good enough about myself. But if you're solid within yourself, you got the self-confidence and you're like, I'm good whether anything happens or not, then you don't care if they like you or don't like you. And then you can come across from that strong masculine perspective of like, meh, I could take it or leave it. I don't have any agenda.
Yeah. That comes from having the secureness of our power. That comes from being happy with yourself, being secure with yourself, and and not seeking that from the outside, and not running from challenge, not running from responsibility, not running from that next level, not running from the stillness, the quietness. A lot of sometimes we want to run from just the quiet moments because, man, I don't want to be present, because if I'm present, then I got to deal with my demons, But, and I'll say this too, before I forget, one of the ways I think we need to take back our power, maybe even the very first way, is that we need to forgive our fathers. We need to forgive our fathers, and we need to stop blaming our fathers for whatever it is, the wounds that we have. I mean, that's a deep one for a lot of guys, man, probably even most guys. But we need to let him off the hook, whoever he is, and own our story, whatever our story is. But so many of us, man, I know I'm like just in this phase of life in passing, maybe because now I'm older than he was when he died, but just the whole idea of, what, I'm not blaming him anymore. I mean, I'm not blaming. I mean, my story is my story, and my experience with him is my experience with him. But I'm not blaming the fact that, oh, I did this, or I'm addicted to this because of my father, because this happened. Damn that, man. We got to forgive our fathers. We got to forgive who hurt us, whoever it is that hurt us. I'm metaphorically speaking, for most of us, it's our father, a father wound of some kind of way. But we got to forgive whoever hurt us, and and maybe when we do that and we release that, then women will learn how to release us from us hurting them. Yeah. They have father wounds, but they also have wounds from another man as well. And quite often we pay the price for what some other man did. But yeah, I think first and foremost, us as men, we need to forgive our fathers and stop blaming him for the state of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, our fathers as children, I mean, our fathers are our example for God, and we have to, that's one of the things that I think is the most powerful and probably the most hard to swallow, is realizing your father is just a dude.
Yeah.
He's just any other dude. Like I think back when my parents had me and they were both 23, and I'm like thinking what I was doing at 23. I'm like, man, could I have a kid at 23? Could I be married? No. So understanding those things and just, at least if nothing else, taking a step back and looking at your father as a person, not as your father, not as the man who did all these things to you. Because I look back on my experience and I see all the cliches of going through my, childhood years and teenage years and 20. And I remember in my 20-somethings when I was wanting to come into my own, wanting to stand on my own feet and wanting to get respect from my father. But of course, he, as the older man, was going, I don't agree with anything you're doing. Looking at it from his perspective as an older man, not trying to see from my perspective. And of course, now that I'm in my 40s, I go, oh, I get that. But back then, I was pissed that everything was his fault.
Yeah.
And he would almost laugh and go, well, you can blame me for everything if you want.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until after he got sick and then after he passed where I really had to deal with that wound of, oh, he's just a person. He's not this godly being that's, omnipotent and knows all and everything, that did these things purposely to me.
Right.
He was doing the best he could with what he had, and he didn't have a father either because his father died when he was 5. So, looking
right,
back at that, you gotta go.
You're right, man. He was doing the best he could with what he had, man. I mean, my father turned 18 in Vietnam. Had his 18th birthday in Vietnam. And came back 100% disabled, was criminally insane, all these other kind of things, and and his childhood was pretty jacked up. So yeah, I mean, homeboy, you're right, man. He did the best that he could with what he had. He wasn't perfect. He was broken in a whole lot of ways, but guess what? These kids over this shoulder, they got to deal with this guy who is doing the best he can with what he had, man, what he got, and as good, bad, and ugly, I can tell you what. They got a better deal than I did. So, we got to forgive our dads, and we got to forgive any women that have hurt us, whether it's an ex or whomever, or a mom or whoever it is. But, we got to let those people go from whatever it is that they had impact. And we got to take that power back in terms of I'm not letting so and so own my story anymore.
Well, and I think that's a great point. One of the biggest ways, the best ways, and probably the first way to take your power back is to stop blaming other people and take responsibility. When
Mm-hmm.
you look back at your father and your father wound and realize he's just a man, just a person doing the best he can, and maybe even like you said, look back at his past and go, oh, well, now I understand more why he was the way he was. I
Mm-hmm.
can't no longer blame him. I'm grown now. I have to take responsibility and look at my past relationships and go, okay, what
Mm-hmm.
was my responsibility in that relationship? I cannot blame that person because I made my choice to be with them. I made my choice to do these things, and
Mm-hmm.
I results are the results. Often harsh, always fair. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the results that I had. What can I learn from that? And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to repeat those things, it comes from that self awareness and that self confidence of being able to look at that person and go, no, I
Mm-hmm.
see this pattern. I see the wounding, and as much as my heart yearns for you, and I'd like to help, not my job. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to step into that again.
Yeah.
Now I have self awareness, and that comes from being self confident, self aware, knowing who you are, so that you can stand your ground, have your frame as a man, stand your power, and be able to take it or leave it.
Yeah. And then grow from there, and then that's the launching pad. And then you grow from there with, okay, how can I be the best version of myself that I can be? I was dealt a certain hand, right? I got some cards in front of me. I was dealt this hand. How can I play this hand to the maximum, possibilities? What can I do with these two pair? I don't know. I'm not even a big poker player, but whatever that is, what can I do with this whole thing? It's like, playing spades or whatever. It's like, I got this many, and your partner got so and so, and then, all right, well, let's, how many can we book here? So I think we take our power back from those that have hurt us. We take our power back from those that we have failed and have failed us. And then we turn that into, okay, how do I make the best out of who I am, where I am now, and let the chips fall where they may. Let women do, again, if women want to continue down the road of becoming more masculine as a group, then let them. That doesn't mean I have to compete with that, because I promise you I can, even in a broken me, I'm a better man than a woman would be.
Yeah.
Period. And so, just let them do their thing. Stop blaming them. Stop blaming that woman or that man or whatever. But we gotta take the power back ourselves, man. We need to begin to stand up for what's right in our culture. We need to, begin to take the lead in whatever kind of circles we live in and all those kinds of things, man. And we just need to go. And I see it happening with a lot of guys. I see a lot of guy movements. I'm involved with a whole lot of different initiatives and ministries and movements and groups and all that kind of stuff that are really trying to advance the ball of masculinity. Quite honestly, maybe it's because I'm not in those circles and I don't, I wouldn't see it, but I see more initiatives to advance masculinity than I see initiatives to advance femininity. And when I say femininity, I'm not talking about girl power. I'm not talking about, what's the new thing now? City girl, this and that. I'm not talking about, anything having to do with an initiative. I'm talking about an initiative. Like, I'm talking about, hey, we need to heal ourselves. We need to take a step back and we need to grow. Like, I see more, on the masculine side than the feminine side, or a lot of things, and most of the things that I feel like I see, maybe, like I said, maybe I just don't see them, but I feel like most of the things I see on the feminine side have more to do with becoming more masculine, or becoming more whatever. I mean, not necessarily how can we be the most feminine we can be.
Right. Well, I know I think we mentioned this before, but one of the things that as strong men, as the masculine, part of our purpose and part of our power comes from that bigger picture, from the family, from supporting and being there as a frame for the feminine, and that becomes very hard when we have this misunderstanding of power, that all power is masculine and physical, and in business it looks like this, and it's all about money, and you have to act this way, and so the ladies go, well, that's power, so that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see a woman in her goddess power, in that
Mm-hmm.
in that feminine power, that motherly goddess power,
Mm-hmm.
she can rule the room, rule the roost, rule the house. Like she's in charge. And so I do agree that there is a misconception about, okay, well, all power is masculine. No, there is feminine power that is greater than and equal to masculine power. But I do believe that the fact that we've been separated, we're losing that context. We're losing the context of, well, me as a man, this is what I do, and you as a woman, this is what you do. And it doesn't have to be gender roles. It doesn't have to be you're the wife, so you stay in the kitchen. You're the man, you go make the money. No, but as the masculine and the feminine working together as a unit, that's where our empowerment comes from. But if we're both trying, if the men are trying to be too feminine and too in their feelings and too talkative and not being in that masculine strength, and the women are being in their masculine go get it power, then we're completely off kilter.
Right.
And we're both missing our home base of power. This is my center being. This is who I am as a man. That's who you are as a woman. And when we know those things and all those things that come from our power, that's where we create that unit of power. That's where we create that family and that unit and that community. But we've been separated. And I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory of, well, they're doing it on purpose and trying to separate us, and that's why the media is pushing this or downplaying that. I don't know. But now we can take our individual power back.
Yeah.
And what is right for me? What is right for me as a man? What is right for her as a woman? What is right for you as a man? Find your own center and allow that to be your resonance that will attract. Because this chasing we've got to stop chasing.
Yeah, we got to stop chasing. Definitely, we got to stop chasing what's not ours to begin with. And if it's yours, then in theory, you don't have to chase it. Period. But there's an intrinsic power in femininity that masculinity cannot match. And if you've ever been in a room when a baby has been born, you see that there is something that was placed in the feminine that is void in masculine. I mean, men could not do that. I know men could not do that, man. No, sir. Especially being in the room. And so, so wanting or expecting us or us as men, abdicating that and almost co-opting femininity, like in some ways, I think, just the idea of, the idea of taking over feminine spaces, I don't think that's the way we should go. I don't think we should go of just abandoning ship and whatever. I think we need to patch up the damage control in the military, in the Navy and the Coast Guard or whatever. You don't, before you abandon the ship, you do whatever you can from a damage control perspective to patch up the hole, to save the ship, period. And I think it's time for us to save the ship. And that's what I mean by us taking our power back.
Yeah. I mean, it's the strong masculine that we're all looking for. That's what's been missing. I mean, since the turn of the century, and men started leaving the home, and then it became just the mom's responsibility to raise the kids. And then the men had less and less influence. And then that became the norm. And now it's even legally now, fathers don't need to have any contact with their kids. The wife can do everything, or the mom can do everything. But now we have generations, not just a generation, generations of kids who don't have a healthy masculine influence. And we're confused why there's so many issues going on.
You hitting a nerve with me right now, man. It's hurting.
It's a nerve for all of us. If we're honest, it's a nerve for everybody, because even a lot of the hardcore feminists, if they were honest, it's that lack of masculine influence that they're looking for, if I can't find it, I'm going to adopt it. And I'm going to embody that so I can have that in my life. And so we're not coming together in that unit anymore. We're missing that. We're trying to do everything ourselves. And nowadays in our Amazon culture, you can order everything to your door. So I don't need anybody else. But we're forgetting the big picture that this is a societal thing. You don't do anything on your own. You didn't take your trash. You took your trash out to the curb. You didn't take it to the landfill. You didn't drive the truck with all the food and stuff to the grocery store. You just went there and bought it. We're all in this together, and that's what we're forgetting. We're forgetting that a powerful masculine and a powerful feminine create the unity that we're looking for, create those bonds and create the love and all the stuff that we're missing. But for a lot of us, especially as guys, we have to start by removing ourselves from all that to get back to who we are, stand strong in who we are, and then go out into the world as that strong masculine who isn't needy, who isn't reaching for, who isn't chasing, who can not be liked, and who can be happy with whatever he gets or whatever
Mhm.
he's creating.
Mhm.
That's what the ladies are looking for,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's what we're missing. It's this
Mhm.
separation. We're becoming so separated on so many lines. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't care what race you are, how much money you make, what country you live in. We're all got 3 or 4 different lines that we're is being pulled. They're
Mhm.
trying to separate us in different ways, and it's about
Mhm.
coming back to who we are, finding out our place, and then coming out into the world in that strong self-confident space of this is who I am, this is what I
Mhm.
bring to the world,
Mhm.
and have those people that resonate with you gravitate to you, so you can create that community and come together.
Mhm.
You know,
You know, I think at least here in this life, in our humanity, the greatest creation we can have, the creation of life,
uh,
takes masculine and
yeah,
feminine. I mean, it takes, you don't get you don't get new human life without masculine and without male and female coming together. Period. I mean, if you get in vitro fertilization, that sperm came from somewhere. I mean, and so our ability as a society to create and to create the beautiful life that this world needs comes from us coming together. And so on one hand, I think, as much as we can be kind of driven apart, we end up being driven apart so that we're more alike. And when I say more alike, I'm talking about feminized men and masculinated women. Um, and it just gets blurry, and then we start to point and finger and blame each other. Then we just get, hateful and bitter and resentful because I can't be the feminine man that I'm trying to be, and I can't be the masculine woman that I'm determined to be. And at the end of the day, there's still something missing, and that something missing is the fact that you're trying to be something that you're not, that you're not naturally inclined to. And so again, I think in terms of us as guys, man, we need to recognize the fact that being um, of abandoning ship in terms of masculinity is not the answer, man. We need to find that, and I think finding that, man, and maybe we kind of talked ourselves into some sense of I don't know about solution. Well, before we even started, you said, well, how do we do that? What's the solution? And I think maybe we talked ourselves into that. I mean, first and foremost, it's you know forgiving our father, whoever came before us, releasing them of all application or releasing them of all responsibility for our story,
uh,
and we own it going forward. And at the same time, forgiving and letting go of the woman that hurt us, or the woman that disappointed us, or the woman that tried to, or whatever it is. um and
yeah,
along with that goes, being able to move on.
yeah, we got to forgive ourselves as well, because I know in
Boom.
my experience, that perfectionistic thing of as a man, I should know. As a
Hmm.
man, even as a beta nice guy, I should have these characteristics or these things. So
Hmm.
we must forgive those who came before us,
Hmm.
forgive those that we interact with, but then forgive
Yeah.
ourselves and know that not only did my father do the best he could, I did the best I could. I do the best I
Hmm.
can every day.
Hmm.
Even if I
Hmm.
know that some days I could do better, that's the best I could do that day. It's all the energy
Hmm.
I had, that's all the
Hmm.
focus I had.
Hmm.
Forgiving ourselves and then finding that piece of who am I,
Hmm.
and then bringing that out. I think that's the biggest thing is we've lost that natural who am I, that
Yeah.
awareness of, well, this is just who I am, and that's good
Yeah.
enough. And
Yeah.
we're so trained to look outside to the feminine, to society, to those that we consider are betters or above us. That,
Yeah.
oh, tell me if I'm good enough.
Yeah.
No, and it doesn't
No.
matter what you do or how much money you make.
Yeah.
You are good enough. Just be happy with what you got. I think
Right.
being there will get us to that place of building those relationships again, and
Yeah.
creating that unity that we're missing. But it
Yeah.
does starts here, then it moves out.
Yeah. I mean, looking in the being able to look in the mirror and to say, okay, I love who I am, and I recognize that what I am is a work in progress.
Yeah.
And so, if anybody else would have been dealt the cards that I've been dealt, they probably would have. I'm talking about just a generic, universal
Yeah.
conversation with oneself.
Yeah.
All of us having this conversation. If anybody else would have been dealt these cards, they would probably be exactly like me right now. I'm not saying accept the status quo. I'm not saying accept your lowest common denominator of who we can be, because us as men, we can be really destructive as beings. You know, when you hear about a mass shooting, it's probably a single male that walked into a place. You know, I mean, and so I'm not talking about accepting the lowest common denominator of who we can be, but I'm talking about, you know, kind of accepting our the flaws up to now, our failures, our mistakes, and okay, pick it up and move on, dust myself off, learn from it, grow from it, and move on. But we got to be willing to do that, man. So you're totally right in terms of us, you know, forgiving ourselves, man, and forgiving our past self, and recognizing that our new self needs us to get better.
And the best way that I've ever found, I mean, Kirk will probably agree with me, but the best way to forgive yourself as a man is to be around other men, to have conversations with other men, to join with other men, because you'll find out it's not just you. Every other man is struggling with the same things. Almost every other person is struggling with very similar things. But when you get overly isolated and too much in your head and you're not forgiving yourself or even talking out your issues, how do you know?
Yeah, if it's not in the area of something like sports or career or something like that, if it's not in some kind of area like that, most of your criticism will probably be from non-men. I'm gonna say no. I'm saying most of the people that will criticize you or whatever will be people that cannot relate to you. Is what I'm getting at. You know, most of the people that will criticize you for, you know, for not being a great husband, never was a great husband, or never was a husband, period. You know, it's freaking hard. Or can't be a husband. You know, most of the people that have criticize your parenting has never been in the situation that you've been with the kids that you've had. Most of the people that, you know, whatever kind of way you want it, you know, most of the people have not been in that situation, man, and so they don't get it. And you know, and so you got to recognize that. Yeah, I totally agree. Get around other guys and relate and connect and just say, hey, man, you know, here I am and going through this. And you'll probably find more often than not, the guy says, I get it, bro. Me too. You know, I mean, me too. I've been there too. I've experienced that too. I've been hurt, wounded. I've been abused, all that kind of stuff, or I feel like a failure. All the things that we feel as guys, when you get around other guys, you find safety in the fact that we all get it, man. We've been there, done that.
I think one of the big things, because this used to come up at every men's group I used to run, and it was one of those things that I thought was just me. I thought I was just a big kid. I'm just a big boy. I'm not a man. I didn't have no, you know, rite of passage, what everything was. But what the interesting thing was, I just thought that was just me, and that no other guys felt that way. They're all men. They're all doing their thing. They're good. And then I had these groups, and every man in there. I've never really felt like a man. I never really felt good enough, or I never felt this or that. And it's in that realization coming together that we go, oh, it's not just me. And then maybe I'm not as broken as I thought. And then that starts to heal those wounds, and you start forgiving yourself and forgiving your father and all those people, and go, oh, I bet you my father was dealing with the exact same thing. I thought he was perfect, but no, he was just as, you know, screwed up, or just as feeling unworthy and feeling like inadequate, just as like I was. So I guess we better land this plane at some point.
We better land this plane. Let's line up on the runway, man. And you know, but I've seen other talking heads on YouTube, etc., go a little bit longer. So I think we're good. This is a good topic, man. This is something that we need to dig into. But at the same time,
we can talk about it forever.
But at the same time, lining up on the runway, man. I think taking back our power is beginning to create as opposed to destroy. Taking back our power is a lonely place, because you'll probably find yourself in places where you're misunderstood, et cetera, but still taking back our power is what the world needs. It's what women needs. It's what family needs, our community needs. And I think how you do that, man, is, you know, releasing other people from their responsibility in your story, and you know, and moving on to continue to self-improve and be the best you can be.
We mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. Power is not a bad thing, and masculine power is not a bad thing, even though it's been demonized for so long. Your masculine power as a man comes from that internal compass, that comes from knowing yourself, and that begins with forgiving your father, forgiving your wounding, forgiving your partners, forgiving yourself, and knowing that we're all doing the best we can, and that this perfectionistic attitude that we need to be, that we don't look like so and so, we don't have the big muscles like so and so, we don't have the money. It doesn't matter. Who you are is what matters, and be the best you can be, and you'll be as manly and as powerful as you need to be. And when you have that self-confidence and self-awareness, you're not going to be destroying, you're going to be creating.
Agreed. Now, what if somebody is feeling disconnected and they want to maybe talk to somebody that is really into connection, maybe somebody that's a catalyst for a connection, maybe somebody that's a connection catalyst? What if somebody wanted to reach out and talk to somebody like that? Who could they call?
Well, you could call me. I am Jason B. Kinder, the Connection Catalyst, and my name right here, jasonbkinder.com. You can email me, you can call me. My phone number's on there. You can check out some old videos. You can check out the books that are on the website. And I'm here for you. I'm excited to work with men. I'm excited to work with families, couples. I love working with those who are interested in better communication, better connection, and getting out of their own way to create a more unified couple, family, universe, whatever you want to talk about. And for those of you who are really into intimacy, if somebody wants to get incubated in their intimacy, would like to have some more intimacy incubated in your life, can maybe want to talk to the intimacy incubator over here.
Yeah. I don't think at all we're meant to be alone, and I think connection, unconditional connection, and intimacy are kind of what takes us to the next level, man. I think that's what gives us a sense of place of being, and that's why I pursue the whole notion of being the intimacy incubator, and I think absolutely. Which hand? That hand. There we go. It's always the opposite. That hand is how you get a hold of a brother. But man, yeah, I think this is a good one, man, because I think we as guys, we need to let go of some stuff, addictions, whatever, and move to the rightful place on the throne that we should be on. So,
men and women, you're not alone. Yeah. Like, share, respond. Tell us what you think. Make sure you go on YouTube and subscribe, like, and share our channel, because once we get to 100 people, we can make that official, we become professional, and you get to see more of us.
Boom.
So,
appreciate
what
you,
else you guys? Love you. Love y'all. We'll have a wonderful evening. Jason B. Kendrick out.
Kirk M. Samuels. Beam me up, Scotty.
We'll see you.